It's the Wolf Media Festival podcast. Today's guests. From the film Hurt, director and writer Vince Lapointe, and stunt performer Dave Cheech Marin. And now, here's your hosts, Kyle Hollingsworth, Richard Wilmore, and Jacquelynn Wolfheart. But first, a clip from the film Hurt.
Have you ever tried to hurt yourself? Please, John. If you can, I'd like an answer now. Have you ever contemplated suicide? John, you're in mandated therapy. What happened? Do you want to die?
With his mental health at an all-time low, a veteran free solos for what may be his last time. That is the premise of Wolf Media Fest's winner for Best Dramatic Short. Today we get to talk to the director, who also won awards for Best Director Drama Short and Best First-Time Director. He's got loads of them all of a sudden for being a first-time director. Please welcome Vince Lapointe. Hi, Vince.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, and congratulations on the wins.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, nice framing in the paper certificates there.
I hope you're going to hang those on your wall. I always like to ask people where they were when they found out they won. Especially, it sounds like this is like your first foray into this.
Totally. I guess I was at the post office when I received the envelope from you. Yeah, it was very, very cool. I didn't expect so many accolades, and yeah, it was like one after another. You guys, I think, sent 4, like you just mentioned, and yeah, it was great for a first project.
Did they all arrive at the same time? Like you opened your mailbox and they just were all in there?
Yeah, it was one envelope with all 4. I think you guys did some effective shipping because I'm in Canada, right? So
how did kind of your worlds collide? You're a veteran, now you're a filmmaker. Like, how did that all come about?
I think I've always had a filmmaker's lens, so I'm always looking at things from a scene perspective. It's I feel like if I'm in the shower, I'm brainstorming like, oh, how could this be more emotional, more dramatic, whether that's comedic or like pain related or whatever genre you're looking at. Even if it's like a doc, I'm kind of looking at how this could flow as an edit or a shot. So even when I was in the military, I think I was thinking within that lens, and I think it's been a calling that has always been there, and I'm just fortunate enough to have fully dived into it within the last 2-3 years.
Can you tell everybody about the short film? It's called Hurt. I know the trailer is out there if people want to watch that, but tell everybody about the film.
Yeah, so it's in a 12-minute film, and basically highlighting the angst and the torment that this veteran is going through. It's basically surrounding his PTSD combined with like the pressure it puts on his relationships, which ends up being a separation, and there's just a lot of self-loathing, self-hatred. And his coping mechanism to kind of release himself from that pain is to free solo rock climb. I brought this story to light because I was basically using that as a coping mechanism, and it was not performed in a healthy way. I believe if you are choosing to do some rock climbing without a rope, then it should be in a kind of a meditative state of calm and control. But that was by far not really what I was doing. And then I started chatting with the community and like the rock climbing community, and we've lost some friends, and then a lot of people I know to, I would say, similar type of approaches to free soloing where they were kind of dealing with an instability in their life and were not exactly like emotionally grounded in that time. And then they were kind of pushing the limits and doing free solo, and that was not probably within the realm of reason if I were to put my own judgment on it. And yeah, it resulted in their death. So I think in sharing this story also is like I put myself in a situation where I uh, was like hundreds of meters off the ground, and I was skeptical that I could execute the following rock climbing move, and I was definitely not feeling comfortable reversing all the moves I had done. And I could see my body, and that's kind of one of the scenes that's in there. I could see my body kind of ricocheting down the rock face. And yeah, I just recall thinking if I could scream for help, I would. If there's anybody around, I'd be begging for them to like drop me a rope. Um, and if I could wait for search and rescue, but there was no way I was going to hold on that long, I would certainly do that. But yeah, ultimately I was fortunate enough to walk away from that. But yeah, I feel like that and the connection to the community, that I was not the only one. And there's even like the most famous rock climber and free soloist Alex Honnold has talked about kind of doing some post breakup and mental pain related free soloing. And I don't know, I feel like for me it's always a glorified, it's unfortunately often glorified to climb without a rope. It can be impressive, but we never really dove into when it's performed in a less than healthy manner, at least in my opinion.
And so I have a question of, because you've said that a couple times, of like healthy and meditative. Are people doing it for that, like maybe they won't make it because they're in different states of mental distress, or what are you talking about when you say that?
So what's your question? Could you elaborate a little bit on that question?
Yeah, like there's it feels like there's a safe way to do it with ropes and things, and then a not safe way to do it without those. And what would be the point other than being very skilled at it in doing that without
And
it?
doing it without a rope?
Yeah.
Well, I would say, it's a very free activity to climb without a rope. There's no limitations, and it's all reliant on your own skill level. Hey, we got
Hey,
We have an
Dave.
intruder in the
I made it.
podcast today.
I made it.
Welcome.
Sorry, I had to edit my browser settings to allow my mic to whatever work, and I'm not the best at this stuff, so I made it though.
Technology's fun. You were obviously
So-
maybe not
Yeah.
the cinematographer then in the film. If
No, definitely not. Absolutely not.
cool.
So why don't I introduce Chico / Dave? So
Nice.
Dave was kind of probably the most on-screen talent as the stunt double. Most of the scenes are very action-based and required a skilled climber to perform the stunts. So most everything, aside from some that I was stunt doubling, was Chico. And yeah, the film couldn't have been done without him. And I think what's
Cheech is
interesting
Cheech,
about
Vince. Call me
Okay.
Cheech now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, Cheech, and I think what's interesting that us, if we're going to dive into the mental health thing, Cheech, when we first connected, he addressed like, wow, when I saw this film, I felt like it was about me and kind of what I'm going through. So this is just kind of also speaking to the fact that I feel like it's not just me, and it's like it's other
But then
climbers
you
that have
realize that
dealt with things.
Cheech also has serious mental health issues.
Yeah, totally.
I imagine in a film that's only 12 minutes long that everybody involved is so closely related to it, because you have to pack so much in 12 minutes to get a full story. What was it like on the set in a film like that? Because you've got some great shots and like it's beautiful to watch. So what was it like being on set?
What are you saying? Everybody that was cast and crew was mentally unstable?
I'm just saying everybody else can relate to something, you know?
Totally. Well, I would also speak towards our actor who was very much so method acting. So that's Will Mathold, and I feel like he was yeah, diving into a lot of the traumas he's had, which are yeah, some pretty severe, incidents that happened in his past. So he was diving into that in his performance, and but as far as like other cast and crew, yeah, I mean, it's making a film, so it's like even if it's a drama, it's fun to do.
What were the stunts like, Cheech? How was that?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a long story. Like with Vince, we met at the Smoke Bluffs one day, and I was climbing with a friend of ours, Eric. And then I think from there, he mentioned his movie, and we sort of, with Vince, we climbed together as well. We got to know each other. And then we sort of talked about soloing, I guess, because we had both done a bunch. And at first, he was looking for actors like that were climbers, right? So I tried auditioning for that role, but then I realized I'm a terrible actor.
At least
I'm
you
not
learned that
really
early
good.
on.
Like, yeah, pretty much right away. Like, I'm not really good at like pretending to be something. um, and then yeah, so like we were like talking with Vince, and he was giving me an idea, and he wanted to do some takes about like soloing and stuff, and then yeah, I was already soloing like a bunch, and then like even I think on one of the routes, I think Vince said, "Oh, what about this route? Let's do this route," and I was like, "What about this route though? I think it would be really good, and it's probably like more exposed, has a more exposed crux than the other ones. Like it would be mentally like more challenging for most people, I think, and that's why we ended up filming a lot on that route. It's just because I guess I was like really comfortable on that route, and I like it so much, and it ended up working really out really good. I think Vince would agree for the movie because it's very aesthetic as well. It's an
Yeah,
aesthetic part on the Chief,
yeah.
Totally.
and but basically I was super solid, super comfortable climbing this route. I mean, I would do it blindfolded if somebody forced me to, like at gunpoint or something. Or
We'll
um,
edit that part out. Um, I want to talk. Oh, how big was the crew and actors? Like, how big of a crew was this to put this together?
Well, as far as like the largest interior, like the largest crew was for the interior shots, and I would say that was about 10ish, including cast. Could have been 12. I can't exactly recall. But then as far as like what you're seeing in most of the film, which is exteriors, that tended to be a very small crew. So if the actor was there, I think we were in total about four, and then a lot of the shots uh, of Cheech is just me on a rope with the camera, and then uh, yeah, Cheech climbing. So sometimes there's a party of two.
What What was it like as a first timer putting all of this together?
I feel like the writing process was almost twofold, and like I wrote it in like a less than a day, and then a lot of revisionary work took place like a couple months after, and yeah, and then getting the team together was like very indie type of, reaching out to people I've worked with in the industry on like Hallmark sets or Netflix shows, and um yeah, and then bringing everybody together. Yeah, I don't know, it's a great process. I've just like finished another short, and I love it. I love watching people come and show up to this project, this silly idea that you conceived, and then all get to work. Like you do a lot of pre-production work, you do the best you can, and but then watching people show up and do their job is just great.
How long does it take? Because I think that's always fascinating to find out how long it takes to put together a 12-minute short film.
Arguably too
Mhm.
long. I feel like I started on the edit with this one, and man, I can't say I feel like I'm becoming a more efficient editor, but I think I put in way too much time on micro details that don't exactly change the big picture, right?
Mm.
And then I ended up bringing Anthony Poon, who's a well-established editor, and he pretty much just balled my whole edit up crumpled it up, threw it in the trash, and then I watched it and I was like, yep, that's better. So, and honestly, if there was more budget, the budget was my pocket on this, and if there was more budget to like allocate to editing, I think it would have been a much better product too. But you kind of also want to move on. You don't want to, like, especially with a heavy project like this, I feel like it's like, it consumed, almost like I mean, fully diving into edit, it was at least like a 6 month-ish process, but like the whole thing took at least like a year to fully execute. Um, and I feel like, yeah, if you're dealing with kind of a heavy subject that's like close to home, you kind of want to move on, like eventually, right? Because like the editor was like, I don't think you should release this just yet. I think it needs to be like massaged more. I'm like, fair, but I also just want to get rid of it.
Yeah. Once it's over, once you're done with it, you're done with it. Then it becomes kind of too much work. What is the kind of life cycle of this now? So it's finished, it's out there. You're obviously putting it into festivals. Like, what does a person do with a short film?
It's a great question. If you find the answer with a different guess, feel free to email me. But I at this point, I mean, it's released on YouTube, so you can watch it. It's doing pretty well for views. It's like I actually just pulled it up. It's 369,000 views. It's pretty all right. To be fair, the thumbnail is a guy falling off of a cliff, and it says free solo. So like, I mean, I would click on that. But
Real fall, by the way.
Yeah,
That was a real fall.
Also a tutorial on how to make a good thumbnail.
Totally. Yeah. Speaking of which, I mean, that's another art that I wish I had somebody on board to do, right? Is like do some great poster and or thumbnail art, right? But like all my thumbnails are just a screen grab from the actual footage. And so if, in a sense it's authentic, but I feel like there's some beautiful thumbnails out there, and it's super crucial to when you do release it online is like, yeah, what is the image that people are going to click on, right? What's going to suck them in?
Yeah. Can we talk about all the stunts and like how? I mean, a stunt double doesn't like know everything. So did you like? How do you figure out who knows what? And then are you willing to go like, I'll learn how to do that? Sure, why not? How does that work?
Yeah, let's keep our magic trick, Cheech. You answered this, but let's keep our magic trick of the fall.
Yes.
Nobody can know.
Of course, nobody. We did take a big fall from the top of the chief, but we won't say how. But basically, I mean, I would just listen to Vince, right, and we would communicate with each other. We would have radios or by cell phone. Actually, sometimes I remember when I would be soloing, we'd just have like each other on speakerphone or like on headphones, and then I would be like, because when you're soloing, sometimes you're being like, some people are being like much more careful and methodical and like climbing slowly, and maybe sometimes like I felt like when I looked at some of our takes, I felt like, I was climbing, I looked like a robot. I was like climbing like super like robot like, and I was like, I don't even like that. That looks horrible. And I was like, let's do it again. And because like you want it to look like something natural, but also related to the character in the film. He's kind of like going through serious stuff right now, and he's sort of pushing his limits too. So he's not necessarily being like too careful or safe, but he's kind of pushing it like a little towards the more reckless side, going through his mental health struggle in the moment. So I think that it was with communicating with Vince and going back and forth with him. We'd do the scene or the take, and then we'd look at it, and he'd give me the feedback, and he'd say, what about this? Can you try grabbing that in a different way? Or can you try that movement? Okay, try that just a little faster now. And or like different pace, So that was part of, like, there's a lot of work that goes into it. Like, even though it might be like a 30-second take or a 40-second take, we maybe would have been up there like, I don't know, a long time, like hours. Like hours just trying to get like that good take for 30 or 40 seconds. So
an example of something that was a little tricky was asking Chico, who Cheech, who's a great rock climber, to this is right before the moment where the lead falls. Well, asking him to feel and look sketchy and like have like shaky hand motion as if you're like gonna die. But like at this point, Cheech is on a rope, and it's like it was really hard to like get him to truly look like you're desperate, right? Like, so yeah, it's like it's tricky, right? It's like if you're effective at that sport or athleticism, then it's like, oh, now I gotta look like I'm not for half a second. Yeah.
Yeah. True.
Maybe I'm not good at the facial expressions, like acting and stuff, but I can portray what it's like to be maybe in that moment, and like, because I know as well emotionally what that feels like. So I think on working with Vince a lot, we'd go back and forth, and he would tell me to adjust this, adjust that, and so that part, I think, that was fun trying to do that and portray the emotion of the character and the scene was a process.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much more than, rock climbing, or like, it's so much more than that. Obviously, there's, mental health and PTSD going on in here. What are you hoping that people take away from this film?
I think actually it's great that you bring this up, because if you look at the comment section on this film is very jaded as far as like it's two extremes. Some people are saying, "Oh my God, this, like I totally resonate with this. This is like my story. I almost like died. I feel like this really addresses like a side of things we haven't explored." And then the other half is, I feel like, mostly rock climbers that are like, this is terrible. This doesn't even like, this is not realistic. And then some is like, performance based comments, and like I feel like I could grow as a writer and have since then. So I think there's like some writing development there that could have been done more effectively. But it's funny, like in reading those reviews of like, some people are like, I resonate so much, this is like the best thing ever. I'm like, well, it's not that good. And then the other half are like, this is the worst thing I've ever witnessed in my life. And I'm like, all right, well, it's not that
Well, come on now. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, calm down now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's basically like, yeah, it's funny sometimes. Like, I don't really read all the comments, but once in a while it pings on this like the YouTube thing, and I'm just like, I'll be like having my coffee, and I'm like, all right, let's just read one for the shits and giggles. And it's like, you should never make a film again, and I'm like, okay, just drinking your coffee. But then other people are like, yeah, this is great. Thanks for making such a powerful piece. So.
Well, now just reply with the awards, like reply with a screenshot of the awards. Okay, thanks for your comment.
It's funny. Yeah, I feel like there's so much to say, but I just there's no need to get into like back and forth commentary with people.
For the positive feedback that you're getting, were you expecting that going into making this? Like, was that even in your head that like, oh, people are actually going to resonate with this?
I was hoping so, because I knew I was not the only one, and I feel that, like I said, in our community, some people have passed, and I feel like it's very similar situations, and yeah, so I knew whether or not people would admit to it that it happens, and but I don't know, I didn't per se expect that many people to reach out and share their own stories, but it's always powerful to get that, and I'm very grateful for those people for opening up and sharing that, whether that's to me directly or in the comment sections or wherever.
That would make a good podcast. What are y'all working on now?
Oh yeah, what are you doing any? I mean, you've been kind of, actually, Cheech has sent me some clips. He's putting some cool stuff together there.
So yeah, a friend of mine, a climbing buddy, we kind of somehow we did a couple mountains together, and kind of got motivated. He's motivated into filming and stuff, and just some of the stuff that he sees me do sometimes, he's like, man, I need to follow you around with a camera or drone or something, because it's just too good.
You need a reality show?
He's done that a couple times, and we've gotten to some cool videos so far. One was like a really bad fall, like a climbing fall, like when you're out at a crag. And then another one was recently on the Chief, on one of my favorite routes, He made a cool video just after work. We went up there, and he just got some really good footage. And I think it's like a good video that portrays like the beauty of climbing on that part of the Chief. And then there's more to come. And myself, sometimes I do a lot of solos with ropes in the mountains and on walls, with ropes and without. But yeah, I might be starting to film some of my adventures now too,
Cool.
just to sort of, I don't know, show some friends, or maybe if it's interesting to the public, in some sort of way.
As long as you do it safely, please. Do it safely.
Yes,
That's
of
when
course,
you're filming
yeah.
yourself. Yes.
No. If we're out there doing that stuff, it's not because we're trying to die.
Yeah.
It's because we're
Good.
because we can do it with a 90.9, maybe higher, 99% chance of surviving. Yeah.
Mhm. And Vince, what are you up to?
I've since done a couple what I would call docu comedies. So yeah, I kind of totally switched out of the drama because overall I'm mostly like just drawn towards humor. So yeah, I mean this is the only drama I think I really released probably at all, honestly. So yeah, some docu comedies on all climbing based actually right now. But one's in pre-production on basically like a fictional narrative on, who do I want to say on the podcast? Yeah, screw it, we can share it. It's basically like an AA
It's an
meeting.
exclusive.
Yeah. It's basically an AA meeting, except slowly you start to realize that the people attending are not actually addicted to drugs and alcohol. They're addicted to adrenaline sports, and they're taking their problem really serious. But it's a comedy, and it's kind of like highlighting the community here in Squamish and like how adventure sports can take over our lives, right? And it can be healthy, but it can also be quite the addiction, right? And so that's a something in pre-production, and then we're wrapping post-production on another comedy I wrote, which is another narrative comedy, and that's a boulder having a temper tantrum on what was supposed to be his warm-up climb.
Nice. What's the best way people can connect with the both of you?
For me, Wildertainment Productions is my production company's name, so that's on YouTube, that's on Instagram. Yeah, so it's like Wilderness Entertainment, but Wildertainment. And yeah, that's how you can reach out.
I'm Cheech, and on Instagram I just changed the name, so it's Cheech_de la Roca. And Cheech is the same thing as Cheech and Chong's. It's spelled the same way. So
For the same reasons, or
it's a nickname
into that
from
on
when I
another
was a kid, and I smoked a lot of weed before.
Yes. The film is Hurt. Congratulations on the awards, and thank you both so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome.
Of course. We'll be right back after this.
Richard, are you excited that we're doing the festival at the Hilton?
Beyond, not just for the festival, but that we're doing everything at the Hilton. We're staying there, the festival's there. I'm going to go to the bar there. I'm going to have breakfast there. It's like one-stop shop.
Yay! It's actually the Hilton Melbourne we're staying in, I think.
I'm very excited.
And guests can also stay there too.
They sure can. They can call. You have to call. The number's down below. And then you use the guest code Wolfheart to unlock exclusive savings for that weekend.
Fantastic. I can't wait to see everybody there.
It'll be fun. See you soon.
Check the links below or call 321-768-0200 and use code Wolfheart when booking to unlock exclusive deals for our festival guests.
That was the stuntman who popped on. That was really cool. I had no idea he was going to be showing up today.
Just that's how it works around here. You just show up and then we interview you.
And we interview you. Yeah, that was super cool.
Have you ever rock climbed or even done one of those like rock climbing walls? Have you ever done that?
I might have done rock climbing walls, but if I ever have, it's not higher than I can. I can get like, 1 foot off the ground, and then my upper body's like, let's just not do that. So that's it for me. But you?
Just being in all that harness is enough to scare me away from doing it. I feel like it's too snug. Things are not interested.
Yeah, I've never. I used to go rappelling with my dad, which is like the opposite of rock climbing, where you stop and you go down. But that was like weird, like little rope diaper things that you wear. Like you make a diaper out of a rope and then you kind of, anyways, that was out of not choice. That was not my choice of something fun to do. That was my dad's trying to train me to be a Marine.
I would need a diaper if I were out there doing that.
Sometimes the places my dad would take us, I'm like, are you trying to get us killed? Don't tell your mom.
Never a good sign. Never a good sign.
But the scenes in this film were really, really beautiful and really I wish we could have like got a lot of behind the scene footage of what was going on, because I can't picture how they shot some of those. Like,
it's called movie magic.
I know, but he was like saying like, I'm just me with a rope, and I'm like, what the F does that mean? I need to see. I need to know how they did a lot of that.
Well, you can't.
Top secret, I guess.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
But that was cool. It was a cool film.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'll have to post the link down in the description to his YouTube channel. I did not know it was available there, and I think that's super awesome. I think more people need to see stuff like this.
I love it when it's available to the public.
Me too. Me too.
So is this podcast on all podcast platforms and YouTube.
Yes, so please go. Like, rate,
And subscribe.
Yep.
All the things.
Bye.
We'll be back next week. Bye.
Wolf Media Festival Podcast with Kyle Hollingsworth, Richard Wilmore, and Jacquelynn Wolfheart. Produced and edited by me. I'm Jacquelynn Wolfheart. Don't forget to check out the links in the description to find ways you can connect with our guests. Thanks for checking us out today and tuning in every week wherever you get your podcasts.